Stag chili has long been a staple of our camping trips, as it's so easy to prepare, requires no refrigeration, and always provides a hot, tasty, satisfying meal. This is definitely a cheap, easy dinner. Bag of pot stickers from Trader Joe's. It's like $3, and Lucy actually already ate some of them. She just left me enough for my dinner tonight. Bottle of this sweet chili sauce. It's like $2, and I'll only use a tiny little bit of it. We'll use the rest of it at home. I know some people prefer pot stickers steamed, or Lucy even prefers them in the microwave. But I like them in the pan like this because they get crispy on the outside, and you just have to heat them kind of nice and slow so the heat gets all the way through and they crisp up. Well, to build the quesadillas, I don't need to tell you how to do that. Nothing elaborate for dinner tonight. Lucy wanted pizzadillas. I'm making one of my camping standbys, which is quesadillas, but with a little bit of a different twist this time. Here I've got the shredded cheese pre-blended with some beans and some leftover rice, and I spiced it up with some red pepper flakes. I got this idea from Tristan of SUV RVing. When Tristan of SUV RVing made this, he had an actual recipe of some sort that involved, I think, some like taco spice packet, and he may have had some other ingredients in there. I just kind of made do with what I had. Again, super simple tonight. Just cooking up some boneless, skinless chicken thighs and some ramen. Just simmering that chicken in the same teriyaki sauce that I put on my tuna burger last night. Alright, I mixed those noodles in with the chicken, and it's looking pretty good.
I remembered this super basic and easy dish I would make when I was a college student and didn't really know how to cook, and it seemed perfect as a hot and satisfying one-pan meal. First, I'm just browning some ground beef. Now I'm going to put in some noodles. I pre-cooked these before the trip, so I wouldn't have to also boil a pot of water or drain the cooked pasta, blah blah blah. I also sautéed some mushrooms at home, and I just packed those in with the noodles. Now a can of basic Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, plus 1 can of water, creates a sauce that pulls it all together, and voila, quick and easy beef stroganoff, camping edition.
Again, I'm not doing anything fancy, and I didn't plan any meals, just I got some groceries and improvising as I go. I have some ground beef, and I've got an onion, so I'm gonna saute up some onion, and I meant to bring like some tomato sauce or tomato paste or something, but I forgot to get some. So I think I'm gonna do a little sort of reduction with balsamic vinegar with the onions, and then I'm gonna throw in the meat. And I've got some of these, it's pasta, but it's made out of lentils. So it's really easy to digest. There's no wheat or anything like that in it. And they have an interesting flavor on top of that. They bring their own flavor to the dish. I'm just gonna mix that all together and eat it. Alright, I'm just making a simple dinner tonight. I've got some pork chops, and I'm going to saute up some zucchini and some mushrooms with some garlic, and yeah, that's it. A nice, healthy, grain-free meal. While those mushrooms start to saute, I'm going to go ahead and cut up the zucchini. I'm cooking those mushrooms and zucchini separately for now. And when they're getting a little closer, I'll just combine them in one pan so I can start the pork chops. We had a long day. We started really early this morning and a lot of time on the trail. So I'm gonna make one of my easier dinners tonight. I've got about half a pack of pre-cooked lentils from Trader Joe's and a sausage, some onions, some white wine, and we're gonna cook that up into a hearty, satisfying, and perfect for a cold night sort of meal. I'm cooking the sausage first so that whatever it leaves in the pan those flavors carry forward through the onions and through whatever else we cook in the pan. On the past couple of trips I've taken, I sort of just threw a bunch of groceries in the car and called it good. But actually inspired by something Jason's been doing, this time I spent a little bit of time and effort at home before heading out and prep some of my food in the amounts that I needed it. A, so that I wouldn't have to have so much in the fridge, bring food that I didn't need, and B, so there's just simply less work to do when I'm out here cooking. You know, when I'm tired after having been on the trail all day long, that's gonna make things go faster and easier. All right, that sausage is looking pretty good. It's probably not fully cooked, but that doesn't matter because it's gonna end up stewing in the final dish, and that will finish it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and start sauteing the onions. These lentils are pre-cooked and pre-seasoned. I just kind of break them up a little bit in there. But then the key to a really good lentil dish, and I learned this in France, so it must be right, is white wine. Cook your lentils in white wine. The trick anytime you're cooking with wine is you have to let the wine cook down until the alcohol is out. Otherwise it will have this sort of, it won't taste right. Cook it until you can put your nose over it and not get that sort of burn in your nose from the vaporizing alcohol, and then it will taste right. So the key with wine is reduction. You remove some of the liquid and you remove the alcohol, and it concentrates those flavors, and it does something magical with the food. Now you can make this more or less liquidy depending on how sort of soupy you like it. Some people like their lentils to be almost in a sort of a soupy sort of consistency, and it's really good that way. Some people prefer it more as a little bit more of a solid dish. It's also good that way too. I kind of sort of aim for halfway in between. That looks like it's going to be pretty good, just like that. Oh, that smells good. That probably doesn't look too fabulous on film because it's just like multiple shades of brown. But I tell you what, this is a very satisfying, protein-rich meal, no grains, and really, that was really easy. Oh, that smells good. Well, I could dump this out onto a plate for you, but that would just make one more dish to wash. I'm just gonna eat it right out of the pan. Tonight we're gonna make a soy ginger stir fry with lots of vegetables and some quinoa. So I cut up some boneless, skinless chicken thighs back at home so I wouldn't have to do it out here at camp. And I've been marinating it in some soy sauce, balsamic vinegar, some chopped up ginger, some red pepper flakes, and just a little splash of Rose's lime juice for a little bit of sweet, tart flair. Alright, I've got the mushrooms in there now with the chicken. And I'm going to go ahead and add the bell pepper as well. Then I'm going to start the quinoa cooking. Okay, to make quinoa, you put 2 times as much water as how much quinoa you have. So there's how much quinoa I've got. And 1. Basically just bring the quinoa to a boil and then turn it down and let it simmer until all the water is absorbed. Oh, smelling good. I usually like to put some leafy greens in my stir fry. Makes it extra healthy and it's a nice extra flavor element. I often opt for like kale because it's extra tough and it holds up to the cooking without just turning into a wilty mess like spinach or bok choy might do. So once everything is mostly cooked, I'll put in the kale, and it just takes another minute or 2 of the kale cooking to sort of finish that off.
I'm making a simple but tasty garlic beef stir fry. Serving it over a bed of arugula keeps it grain-free and easy to digest, but still entirely satisfying. It's time to make some dinner, and we're both filming a cooking segment, so I'm trying to keep my noise level down. To avoid having cooking oil ooze out into my kitchen stuff, I've packed some coconut oil in the cooler, which stays solid at lower temperatures but is great to cook with. Now I'm adding some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which I pre-cut into smaller chunks at home.
Okay, I've got that chicken browned up. I'm just going to set that aside for now. And I've cut up some onion. I'm going to get that going. Alright, I'm going to pull the onions off. We'll get the mushrooms going. While those mushrooms are starting to saute, I'm going to go ahead and cut up the bell pepper. All right, I'm gonna take the mushrooms off and then start sauteing the bell pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and let the green beans saute with those bell peppers. That should be about right. So this is one of my camping go-tos because ultimately it's a simple meal. I know I cooked every single ingredient separately, but I think it goes faster that way rather than having them all piled together, and then they saute up better. And that little, when you get that little crispy edge, that little burnt edge on things, that brings out the flavor in the food.
Now that all the ingredients are nicely sauteed, I've put everything back in the pan.
So I'm using this Masala simmer sauce from Trader Joe's. It's really tasty as is. But to really finish it off, add an equal amount of coconut milk. Finishes it off perfectly. Just let that simmer together for a while. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good.
Jason has cooked his meal right in the campfire, and it smells fantastic.
Cheers to a good camp. We got a little bit of each of our stuff. So what did you make?
Right, my idea for tonight was to make sort of a Moroccan chicken tagine. I obviously don't have the tagine dish with my camping stuff, so I'm just going to make it in a skillet, but sort of with the same idea. I've got some chicken thighs, an onion. Oh my god.
I saved it.
The car is not quite level and the kitchen is not quite level. I tried to frame it as if we were, but as you can see, we're not quite level. All right, first thing is to cut up some onion and garlic and get it sauteing. As usual, I'm using some coconut oil. Lighting tonight courtesy of Big Tent Outdoors, the Claymore 3-Face. This thing is fantastic. For now, I'm just browning up the chicken thighs. They don't need to be cooked all the way through at this point, just browned. They will cook through when the sauce is simmering later. So I kind of did that backwards. It really makes more sense to brown the chicken first and then move on with the onions and garlic. And then you can start to add some other ingredients, like some lemon zest. I don't have a zesting tool, obviously, in my camping kit, but I'm just going to cut some off and chop it up finely. Some honey. I pre-mix my spices, but I've got some cumin, turmeric, cinnamon, and I think that's it. Maybe there was one more thing, but I think that's it. Some chicken broth.
Is that rolling?
It is. Salt and pepper.
Is it gonna be ready?
That's going to be probably another half an hour.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Some chips or something. Then you can get your chicken back in there and let it start to simmer. Ideally, you want a lid on this. I don't have a lid for this pan, so I'm just going to use my other pan. Some people like to serve their tagine with potatoes. Some people like to serve it with couscous. I'm going to make quinoa. I find it a little easier to digest, and it's similar to couscous. I would normally cook quinoa with water, but since I've got the chicken broth, I'm going to go ahead and cook it in chicken broth for a more rich flavor. I believe a traditional Moroccan chicken tagine uses raisins, but I seem to remember that my friend from Morocco would make this using plums instead of raisins, and it was fantastic. So I'm going to use plums instead. And don't know if I remember that correctly, but I think it'll be good. Not plums, prunes. Prunes. Like dried prunes. Prunes! Very good for you too, yeah. Of course, no Moroccan tagine is complete without the key ingredient, chickpeas. As the dish is nearing completion, you can add the chickpeas in there, or garbanzo if you prefer. Oh, I wish you could smell this. Mmm.